Die hebben anscheinend nog herinneren fotograferen.
Good morning and welcome to Doha. Welcome from the Aspire training facilities in Qatar. It's the final day of the Volkswagen Training Camp Qatar. The 11th training session has commenced. We join it after 10 minutes of fitness exercises indoors in a gym. I'm traditionally warming up indoors here in the indoor facilities. We'll see a few passing exercises now and then a few different exercises is what we're expecting to see throughout the course of this training session. We'll go into a little more detail as we go along, as in who's here and who isn't. A few players out due to precautionary measures. Thomas Müller commented yesterday already that after 10 training sessions already and a test match, slowly but surely you can feel your bones here. And of course Pep Guardiola wants to make sure that the squad remains free of injury. Luckily, so far we've had no new injuries, at least nothing serious. On the contrary, a couple of players who came here with minor injuries and came here with a cold. David Alaba is one example. Juan Bernat, Mario Götze are in team training again. We're going to start again with the traditional passing exercise in a few minutes time and then talk you through the different exercises here. Again, it is the last day of the Volkswagen training camp in Qatar, in Doha. Tomorrow morning the team travels just for a day to Riyadh, to Saudi Arabia, for a final test match of this Arab winter training camp to play against Al Hilal, the Asian Champions League winner, reigning Champions League winner. So that should be a good test for Bayern Munich, as the first one against the Qatar Stars was. In a few minutes we'll have the first exercise. We'll show you in a little more detail. There's going to be some goalkeeping training, few exercises covering speed, crosses. They'll be expecting at least to see a little bit of a friendly game here between the players. So it should be an exciting training session which we can bring you here today.
Bewegung, komm, komm. Eine Minute, gut Rhythmus, komm. Hey, pass, pass, pass.
Worauf? Ich freue mich auf den heutigen Tag. Die Sonne scheint, ich bin hier. Der Charlie und der Heinz sind. Eigentlich bin ich spannend morgen auf jeden Fall. Ich bin spannend. Ach, hier kommen wir schon an mir rein.
At the front here, you can see that the pitch is being watered. It's a very hot day. We've had differing temperatures here, some fairly chilly days. Today should be the hottest of the year so far, which is why it's so important to make sure the pitch is in a good condition. In the background, the players stretching. The precautionary measures that I mentioned earlier, extremely important, particularly in these winter training camps. As I said, it's already the 11th training session. We've only been here since Friday evening. Still, a great opportunity, of course, for Bayern Munich to, on the one hand, improve fitness, but more than anything else, improve details. Thomas Müller commented on that yesterday, saying that the goals here indeed are simply to improve details, to prevent the opposition teams from creating goal chances, making that even more difficult. Hard to believe that that's possible considering the few goals that Bayern Munich have conceded in this season so far, and also to score goals easier, to create goal chances easier, and in order to achieve that, Pep Guardiola is going into great detail. We have some prominent spectators of the training sessions here in Qatar. There's a lot of fans here who have come from the area, some fans who've come from Munich, but also some former Bayern Munich players watching the training sessions. Nearly every single training session is the man on the right of your screen, Robert Kovac, brother of Nico. These two brothers are the coaches of the Croatian national team, and as you all know, as Bayern fans, of course, former Bayern players. They're fascinated by Pep Guardiola, saying that he trains down to the atomic level, has been the quote, saying there's absolutely no coincidences in the game. And that is what Thomas Müller was suggesting yesterday, saying that it is minor details. Matthias Sammer commented on that again, citing the 2012 Champions League final, talking about the really minor differences which decide between success and failure on the top level, which is why, again, the Kovac brothers and others are watching very closely what Pep Guardiola aims to achieve in this winter training camp with his players. Right now what we're seeing are warm-up exercises, nothing tactical there, and it's good to see that some players are back on the pitch. Claudio Pizarro, for instance, has been battling minor injuries. Missing today Franck Ribéry. He's out in the gym. Again, it's a precautionary measure following his injury problems in 2014. Holger Badstuber with a similar story there. Right now, I'm unable to see Bastian Schweinsteiger, which would make... Bastian Schweinsteiger is actually there, but then Mario Götze also missing from this training session. Again, all precautionary measures, don't forget. 11th training session since Friday, so basically in 1 week, 11 training sessions and a successful test game in order to prevent that from taking its toll, at least too much from the players. Several of them are being monitored. Of course, all players are being monitored, but but some of them are left out today for precautionary measures. Nothing to worry about, though, for the Bayern fans. So you can see, even after a week of training, the atmosphere is still good, and we can vouch for that here. Working together with the players has been easy, and a joy. The players prove highly motivated and are keeping busy on and off the pitch. Might have been able to watch some of the friendly game that Bayern played, a 4-1 victory against the so-called Qatar Stars, in which Bayern already showed in the first test match of 2015 what we're going to see for the rest of the season. Intense pressure of the opposition wherever the ball is held on the pitch. Goals scored there by Mitchell Weiser, who scored the first 2 goals. This led a few of the coaches, so Matthias Sammer, to comment on the development that he's taken. Weiser joined Bayern Munich about 3 years ago as a great talent, never really made it into the first team, has taken quite a step, and that test match was further proof of that. Further goals scored by Franck Ribéry, who showed another good performance there, and then finally Claudio Pizarro. Again, it's good to see him back on the pitch today, same as the man in the middle of your screen here, David Alaba, He surprised all of us, the fitness coaches not so much, but everyone was extremely pleased with his development in the past few weeks in particular. It's been 2 months since he sustained injury, and while some of the coaches and of course last not least Alaba himself were optimistic that he would be able to join the team here, everything went particularly well. Healing process, recovery process, and then fitness exercises as well. Alaba back in the team. He's hoping, at least without putting too much pressure on himself, that he'll be able to continue at least with team training in the next couple of days and weeks. We have about 2 weeks to go before the first match of 2015 against Wolfsburg in Wolfsburg, the match between the table first and table second team. A great start to the season for Pep Guardiola's team. He himself commented on how he enjoys the Bayern schedule with really difficult games. Wolfsburg, then Schalke, Stuttgart around the corner as well. Big names in Bundesliga football, and an ideal start to the year 2015 so that the players know exactly that there are difficult tasks ahead already. Again, David Alaba not putting himself under too much pressure, but he seems at least hopeful that he might already be an alternative for the coaching staff for that game. Let's keep our fingers crossed that Alaba and the others stay free of injury and can continue with the training sessions and the training schedule. So far, it's looking very positive, and again, good to see that even after 10 training sessions and a game in only a few days, the players do still seem to enjoy themselves. Manuel Neuer at the center of your screen, training with Tom Stark and Leopold Singele, and goalkeeping coach Toni Tapalovic. You will probably have heard the good news that Bayern Munich's fourth or second goalkeeper, Peperina, had some great news come his way. His wife gave birth to his fifth child during this training camp. He's actually left Doha now to be with his family. Congratulations from all of us. Neuer also, of course, as you all know, didn't spend the entire time here in Doha, but traveled to Zurich for the Ballon d'Or World's Best Player Award, in which he came third. Not one iota of disappointment from Manuel Neuer, who it seems quite obvious didn't really expect to win it. He said himself, I'm a winner already. It's a great day for goalkeeping in general, if a goalkeeper can even come close to winning this award. Some of the Bayern teammates and officials, of course, had higher hopes for Manuel Neuer, saying that you can't play a better season, you can't play better years of goalkeeping than Manuel Neuer has, and add the World Championship title, then that was probably the closest the goalkeeper can come. But as it is, spectacular football played, of course, by Messi and Ronaldo in every season, and in the last season, I suppose, in particular. So he was certainly in good company. Let's join Tapalovic here and have a look at this exercise in some detail.
That's a third goal. No, that's a fourth goal. Zenegre. That's their fourth goal.
Oh, yeah, let's see this. I bet you he's gonna. Look, he has to
That's
jump.
their fourth goal.
Oh, I bet you this one's gonna be a goal. Yeah, I told you.
It's their fourth goal.
That's
it. The goal.
The fourth goal is not really that bad. Look at this.
Who's the fourth goalie, the white one?
No, the one. The one. The goal.
Jose Reina's their second.
That Neuer's their first.
Yeah,
Jose
first.
Reina's second.
Pepe Reina.
Second
What a
back out.
save!
Oh my god, that's not bad.
Yeah, that one was good.
If there was something here, I could climb up.
Me.
I could already climbed.
Muhammad Khalid Johnson.
No, that was Sammy. Oh. Okay, save my spawn.
Don't save a spot.
What? What? I know that. I already saw it a second ago. But now I'm watching. Who's in goal? The third best goal. Yeah, that's the third best.
No, the white one's not their goal. It's their train. I think Neuer's in goal.
No,
Yeah, yes,
then
Neuer's
they have
gonna go.
3 goalies then.
No, they have 4 goalies, but one of them's not here. The other goalies aren't here.
So the third best?
No, their second best goalie.
Why?
He doesn't want to. He didn't want to come.
He's maybe
Maybe. Maybe he changed clubs.
No.
Yes, he would.
He played a few days ago.
So Leopold Zinele taking over now from Manuel Neuer. In case you're wondering what makes him such a great goalkeeper, some of these exercises possibly explain that. They've been working so hard in training throughout this week, and of course they do the same in Munich all the time as well. Toni Tapalovic joined Bayern with Manuel Neuer. Leopold Zinele, the second tier or second team goalkeeper, said himself benefiting a great deal from this training, usually in Doha at least with Pepe Reina, but good use for Bayern as well. Tom Stark is another one of the players who has returned from injury in this training camp, but who can conduct at least some of the exercises. Here he is in your screen, just returned a few days ago. The days are over where the goalkeeper conducted a few just running exercises with his teammates and would just have shots come his way, although we will see the goalkeepers involved in the full training session later on. We're expecting a physical exercise coming up now for the full team, then a couple of crosses and exercises with crosses and shots on goal coming later on before the Bayern players will conduct a little game here against each other. That at least is the schedule we receive. We'll see. All of these schedules and session plans are of course subject to change. Pep Guardiola and his coaching staff of course analyzed these training sessions in great detail, which is why we've talked to some of the assistant coaches. It's really always a matter of a day-to-day, step-by-step decision, depending on how well the players have done, how long the training sessions last. This man, of course, not a world champion, unlike some of his teammates, but a world champion in training. Robin, described by some as a bit of an animal in training sessions, just so diligent, so hard-working, which explains why he has become and evolved into one of the best European wingers. He said himself yesterday in a Q&A session with some visiting children here that joining Bayern at the age of 25 was his best career move. Started out in Groningen and then PSV Eindhoven, Chelsea and Real Madrid. And since he's joined Bayern Munich, 11 titles with Germany's record champion holders, the most important one of which of course was the one in which he scored the match winner in the Champions League final at Wembley. Let's have a look at this first real exercise of the day here. You can expect some sweating Bayern players come your way. Mehdi Benatia, who just walked through our screen, by the way, a player who's unfortunately not really been able to train with the team a lot. He's been battling minor injuries, but like everyone else here, there's a basically 24-hour training schedule for every single player, regardless if they're on the pitch or not. You might have caught the Javi Martinez press conference or some of the statements that he made a few days ago, saying that he feels very good as well, that his knee's feeling good. All of these players here, one way or the other, no matter where and how they train, are taken care of physically, again, 24/7.
How long is it?
he's so cute.
This is, as you can imagine, one of the exercises the players are not particularly fond of, and one of the few exercises that we see without a ball involved at all during the season, during Champions League weeks. Exercises like this not really possible at all, and for the most part, Pep Guardiola refrains from having his players conduct exercises without balls at all, but it's important and a good opportunity in the winter training camp certainly to practice these things as well.
Ladies? German? Ja. Deze zijn ook een beetje uitzien. Dat is een microfoon. Fix this? Ja? Okay.
We should go up, get one of the pens, and then you do there's like
You can hear in the background there's quite a few fans here today. The Aspire training facility is frequented by a lot of people. You probably heard it. The Schalke team was here in the past few days. Zenit St. Petersburg was here with Anatoly Timoshchuk, who visited his former teammates. They are truly great facilities here, particularly the vicinity of the hotel to the training pitch is something that the Bayern coaches like in particular. It's literally a 2-minute walk from the hotel terrace out to the pitch. This is the one stand which the fans frequent to watch the training facilities, but there's all kinds of options and possibilities here to have a look at these training grounds. Several training grounds located right next to each other, several sports halls, different indoor gyms. The Qatari Sports and Football Association is located here as well. So really ideal conditions for the Bayern winter training camp, which is why Bayern are here for the 5th time in succession.
Hello. You belong to the guy?
So the next exercise about to start. We'll follow this and see exactly what the goals of these training sessions are, of this exercise is. Pep Guardiola, Dominic Torrent in particular, explaining to the team exactly what's going to happen here. It's been called an exercise involving crossing. The goalkeepers are there, so I'm sure we're going to see some shots on goal as well. So let's see. I'm pretty sure this is going to be an exciting and fun to watch exercise that we can all enjoy. Let's see if Manuel Neuer enjoys it. You always root for the strikers to score good goals, but as always, Neuer in goal, it'll be difficult to get the ball past.
حبة كاريزما بقيت مورينيو عرفت؟
Fine.
So in a sense, I suppose, another typical exercise here with everyone involved. You can see that the groups here are changing back and forth. The groups of 4 in the center are forced here to practice offensive and defensive headers. As always, Pep Guardiola doesn't simply practice one exercise, and you can see how involved he is as always. Let's keep going. Let's hope that the players do exactly as the Spanish coach expects of them.
Charlie, weißt du, wo der Peter ist?
معلم مايكل بايرن تعال نحكي ايش اللي بديش؟
Jahr will ich da auch was ändern, weil also das ist ja der Bereich, der bei uns wirklich nur noch wachsen kann. Redaktionell, was soll wir jetzt noch machen? Wir alle den das schon machen. Da kannst du keine großen Umsätze mehr machen. Das geht ja nicht.
Ja, das ist dann ich gehe davor, weil ich hätte nachher auch müde muss. Wenn die nicht zum Duschen gehen, dann gleich hoch, dann. Ja?
Propagandamaterial, das nimmt ja diese Idee. Aber wir können es für und nicht drehen und dann hier und da, ich weiß nicht, ob das mal gecheckt, aber das ist noch nicht da. Oder versteht die Art und Weise.
Sie wissen, wer ausschaut? Kann jeden noch Österreich.
Dann die einfach gute Alternativen.
Sie möchten noch Frankreich? Du bist dabei. Der große Spezial. Ist das? Ist der große Spezial? Jetzt momentan sind nur die Stürmer auf beiden Seiten. Gelb und blau. Machen wir das von der Arbeit. Ist das? Jetzt wechseln wir die Gruppe, jetzt sind die Gelben die angreifen. Jetzt mehr in die Abwehr. dauern noch so 20 Minuten.
Ist es schon mal passiert, dass einer über den Zaun gesprungen ist? Der wird also sofort wieder weggeschickt.
Eigentlich schon. Das war nur im ersten Teil.
Aber der ist noch nicht aufs Spielfeld geraten, oder?
So weit ist er nicht gekommen.
Ich glaube, er hat gerade noch so über den Zaun gekommen, oder? Und gerade sind sie Kommt drauf an, wie alt er wird. Kommt drauf an, wie alt er wird.
Genau. Und was glaubt ihr?
As you can see, another comprehensive exercise in the sense that everyone has to practice everything here. There's offensive, defensive headers that are being practiced. The players learn quickly again to switch from the attacking to the defending, thinking every player has to cross the ball into the center as well. Quite a few funny scenes here as we went along. Claudio Pizarro and Bastian Schweinsteiger, for instance, were complaining that while they played excellent crosses into the center, no one was able to score from them. This here is Tom Starke, who's been conducting a bit of individual training on this side. I'm not quite sure if he'll join in the next exercise, which should start shortly when the players actually play a game against each other. Previous exercise again shows the comprehensive approach of Pep Guardiola, with everyone really forced to conduct different elements of the exercise. It's not so surprising that Jerome Boateng and Dante probably were strongest there in defensive headers. Also not surprising that Arjen Robben missed probably the best heading opportunity here, but I'm not sure if he's ever scored a goal with his head. He's in the Franck Ribéry club of missed headers there. And again, in nearly all of the exercises we've seen here, Pep Guardiola has this, I suppose what you would have called in the past, total football approach, where everyone practices attacking, defending as part of the philosophy and mantra of the Spanish coach. Let's see with what exercise the training session continues now, but Tom Starke has already moved into one of the goals. Good to see him back on the pitch.
Muss jetzt eh Schluss machen, muss jetzt was arbeiten. Muss jetzt was arbeiten, muss eh Schluss machen.
If you've watched live training sessions of Bayern Munich, that this is not a surprising exercise for you. Training game, there's several players on the sidelines, so what happens here is that two groups of players play against each other. They'll then replaced by another group. They're coming in now, and as nearly always, the games that are played on much smaller pitches. The coaches, as you can see, it's probably about a third of the length of the pitch, and that is of course to give the players as little time and space as possible. You can tell how much louder immediately everything is on the pitch. Goes to show just again how the players enjoy games more than anything else. The exercise before had a couple of ups and downs, I suppose, and here again full concentration by the players. Just now, dream goal scored there by Arjen Robben, in case you were wondering who scored the beautiful volley earlier in the training exercise. That was one of the young under-19s, Marco Hingel. Going to try to stay on David Alaba for a minute or two here just to see how the Austrian is training, but I can tell you that he's, again, impressed everyone here. He seems to be back in form, seems in obviously great spirits, which is no surprise after having returned from an injury break. But this is possibly the best news that Bayern Munich's had in this training camp. Of course, other news is that Bastian Schweinsteiger is back as well and has been able to conduct every single training session. But Alaba seems fit, seems ready. There's been, as I mentioned earlier, this is the 11th training session, but that's really only the full team training sessions. Every single player has conducted more than these 11 sessions. There's been small groups of players in different gyms, on bicycles, in the gym, conducting all kinds of exercises throughout this training camp. Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday saw only one official full team training session, but particularly on those days a lot of players conducted individual training sessions alone or in groups. Tuesday evening, of course, was the 4-1 victory against the Qatar Stars, but again it's difficult to actually quantify, at least for us, not so much for the coaches of course, to quantify how much each and every player is trained individually. But Alaba is a great example of a player who's really been working around the clock. Keep in mind that it's not only training sessions that matter for the players, but also how do they regenerate. There's quite a few physicians and assistant coaches here, physical therapists who conduct regenerative exercises with the players, massages and so on and so forth. So 11, I'd say, is probably the minimum of training sessions for the majority of the players here. Here are what we assume are some interested viewers from Zenit St. Petersburg. The Bayern training sessions do create quite a bit of a buzz here in the Aspire training facilities, and a lot of people come well, from all around the different training areas to watch the Bayern players train. This is Holger Badstuber. As I mentioned earlier, he wasn't involved in this team training session, but that was, we expect, a purely precautionary measure. Holger Badstuber, as you know, just returned from injury. He was actually the first player to return to Munich for individual training sessions, but like every other player who's come back from a major injury, he has to be a little careful not to overdo it. I mentioned earlier that even Thomas Müller said that after now, at the time it was I think 8 or 9 training sessions, slowly but surely you do reach the limit of how much and how hard you can train. And again, particularly with the injured players, with players like Alaba, Badstuber, Schweinsteiger, of course Tom Stark to a certain extent, just have to be careful not to overdo it in these training camps.
You know when we can like say hi to players or take picture or anything? After the training on the way to the gym. So where they go there? Or hotel? Yeah, to the gym and then to the hotel.
Season.
Ah, sí, 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 sí.
Estuvo en el
En el mundial.
no, y estuvo en la tarde. Einer von unseren Kappen auf. Wo hast du die denn her? Die werden alle nach Dings da.
As you can see, the winner is Team Blue. I didn't count how many goals they scored, but they received the deserved applause from the fans, I assume. The training session is slowly but surely going to come to a close here. 1.5 hours of training already practiced here by the Bayern team. So it's time for me, unless we're surprised with a few more exercises, to slowly say goodbye and wish you a good day. We'll stay on here for another minute or two, but I assume the Bayern players are just going to have a drink now and conduct possibly some stretching exercises. Usually they go to the gym, then have a cold ice bath afterwards to immediately start the regeneration process. It's going to be the last training session, obviously, that we can show you from Doha, from Qatar. There's one more session today at 4 p.m. our time. Again, then tomorrow early in the morning the Bayern team flies to Riyadh for a final test match and then lands back in Munich on Sunday. Next official date then is a test match against Bochum on the following Friday, but we'll see if it's possible maybe to bring you another live training session or so before the first competitive match at the end of January against Wolfsburg. During the season, as you can imagine, it's always a little difficult. The public training sessions that are accessible to the public usually tend to be after the games and are not particularly interesting because they're usually just running exercises and sessions in which the coaches go easy on the players. So really in the mid-season break and of course in the pre-season, those are the ideal possibilities for us to show you interesting training sessions. We hope you enjoyed this one, and of course stay tuned. We'll give you more information of what happens the next couple of days, and again, maybe if we have the chance, we'll give you another live training session before the competitive matches begin the end of January. Thanks for watching. That's all from us, and goodbye.